today we're talking about Lontrell Williams, aka Pooh Shiesty.
Picture this. You're sitting in a federal prison cell, can't go anywhere, can't drive, nothing, but you're so loaded with cash that you decide to buy 2 Ferraris just because you're bored. That's exactly what Memphis rapper Pooh Shiesty did. And that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this cat's insane wealth story. We're talking about a young shorty who went from the projects to millionaire status with one phone call from Gucci Mane. This dude was dropping 100 stacks on grills, copping Lamborghinis like they were regular whips, and buying his mama a whole mansion, all before he could legally drink, no cap. But here's the crazy part, gang. While most rappers go broke when they get locked up, Pooh Shiesty was making power moves from behind bars that'll blow your mind. From his first record deal to those prison Ferrari purchases, this story is absolutely wild. So if you want to find out exactly how this Memphis cat built a multi-million-dollar empire, how he stayed rich while locked up, and why buying those Ferraris from prison was the ultimate flex that had the whole industry talking, then you better stick around until the end of this video. Trust me, homie, this story is about to have you shook. What's good, fam? Welcome back to the channel where we break down the crazy lives of your favorite rappers. Today, we're diving deep into the wild story of Memphis rapper Pooh Shiesty and how this young cat went from the trenches to living like a king practically overnight. We're talking about a dude who was buying Ferraris from prison just because he was bored, dropping 100,000 on grills, and living a lifestyle most people can only dream about. So buckle up, gang, because this story is absolutely insane. The come up. Let me break it down for you, homie. Pooh Shiesty, real name Lontrell Williams Jr., came straight out of South Memphis, specifically the Cane Creek projects. Now, if you know anything about Memphis, you know that ain't no joke. We're talking about one of the most dangerous cities in America, with over 100 different gangs operating in the area. This young cat was born into a world where violence was just part of daily life. But here's where the story gets wild, fam. Pooh Shiesty's pops, who went by Mob Boss, was already in the game, both the street game and the music game. His father ran a record label called Mob Ties Records, so music was literally in Pooh Shiesty's DNA. But it wasn't all studio sessions and beats, no cap. His father was catching cases left and right, including being linked to some serious charges back in 2004 when Pooh Shiesty was just a kid. Growing up, Pooh Shiesty was exposed to both sides of the hustle. He'd be in the studio with his pops as a young shorty, watching the music business unfold, but he was also seeing the street life up close and personal. By age 11, this kid was already catching his first robbery charge. By 14, he was back in the system. The streets were calling, and Pooh Shiesty was answering. The grind begins. Now, here's what's crazy about Pooh Shiesty's story. Dude actually graduated high school despite all the chaos around him. After graduation, he and his homies formed what they called Choppa Gang, and they were focused on getting money by any means necessary. This wasn't just some rap group, fam. This was a real organization in the streets. Pooh Shiesty didn't even take rap seriously until after high school. He was more focused on basketball dreams and street money. But when he finally stepped into the booth in 2018, something magical happened. His first real single, Hell Night, featuring Big 30, absolutely exploded, racking up over 6 million views and putting Memphis on notice that a new king was rising. The Gucci Mane call that changed everything. Here's where the story gets absolutely wild, gang. Picture this. Pooh Shiesty is grinding in Memphis, building buzz with tracks like Main Slime, and then out of nowhere, his phone rings. It's Gucci Mane, the trap legend himself, sliding into Pooh Shiesty's DMs on Instagram. Gucci had been watching, and Main Slime caught his attention heavy. Within a couple of months of that initial contact, Pooh Shiesty was signed to 1017 Records. Just like that, this young cat from the projects went from local Memphis buzz to being backed by one of the biggest names in trap music. The signing to 1017 was Pooh Shiesty's first major payday. And while the exact numbers haven't been made public, we're talking about a deal that instantly put him in millionaire status. Google estimates put his net worth at around $1 million. But trust me, fam, that's just the beginning of this money story. The explosion, Back in Blood, and mainstream success. Now, if you thought the Gucci signing was big, wait until you hear about what happened next. In November 2020, Pooh Shiesty linked up with Lil Durk for a track called Back in Blood. The story behind this collaboration is crazy. Pooh Shiesty was at Savage Inc. recording studio in Atlanta, laid down his verse, then ran it over to Dirk in another room. Dirk heard it and dropped his verse in just 5 minutes. That song became an absolute monster, climbing all the way to number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100 and hitting number 6 on the hip-hop charts. We're talking hundreds of millions of streams, fam. With Spotify paying artists around $3,500 per million streams, Back in Blood alone could have brought in around $70,000 just from Spotify streams. And that's not counting YouTube, Apple Music, or any of the other platforms. Living like a king, the expensive lifestyle. Once that Gucci money and streaming revenue started flowing, Pooh Shiesty went absolutely crazy with his spending, and I mean that in the best way possible. This young cat started living like he'd been rich his whole life. First up, let's talk about the ice game, because you know a rapper's jewelry collection tells the whole story. Pooh Shiesty was making regular trips to Johnny Dang and company, dropping serious bread on chains, watches, and custom pieces. We're talking about a dude who was rocking 1,017 chains that were probably gifted by Gucci, but also investing his own money in custom pieces. But here's where it gets really wild. Pooh Shiesty dropped $100,000 on a set of grills. Not a chain, not a watch, but grills for his teeth. That's the kind of money most people make in 2 years, and this cat spent it on dental jewelry just because he could. The whip game, Lamborghini Urus, and more. When it comes to cars, Pooh Shiesty wasn't playing around. His main whip was a Lamborghini Urus. And if you don't know, these beasts start at around $200,000 minimum. The Urus comes with a 4.0 V8 engine, can hit 125 miles per hour top speed, and goes from 0 to 60 in just 3.6 seconds. This ain't just transportation, fam. This is a statement. But that wasn't his only ride. Gucci Mane actually gifted him a slime green 2021 Jeep Trackhawk. These trucks are no joke either. We're talking about another 6-figure vehicle that can keep up with supercars on the highway. And here's where the story gets absolutely insane. Pooh Shiesty was also renting McLarens. These cars can run anywhere from $200,000 to $500,000 depending on the model. This young cat was living like he had unlimited funds, switching between Lambos, Jeeps, and McLarens like most people switch between different pairs of shoes. The craziest purchase, 2 Ferraris from prison. Now gang, this is where Pooh Shiesty's story gets absolutely wild, and I mean next level crazy. When Pooh Shiesty got locked up in 2021, most people would expect him to lay low, save his money, and wait for his release. But not this cat. No cap. Pooh Shiesty was so bored in prison that he decided to buy 2 Ferraris while he was locked up. Think about how insane that is for a second. This dude is sitting in a federal prison, can't drive anywhere, can't even see these cars. But he's so rich and so bored that he just decides to drop hundreds of thousands of dollars on Ferraris. We're talking about cars that start at around $200,000 each and can easily go up to $500,000 or more depending on the model. According to reports, Pooh Shiesty bought these cars as a flex on his Instagram model girlfriend's new man. Apparently Shorty had moved on while he was locked up, and Pooh Shiesty wanted to show both her and her new dude that his money was still long. He was basically saying, yeah, I'm locked up, but I'm still richer than y'all will ever be. This move shows you just how much money Pooh Shiesty was sitting on. Most people would be worried about legal fees, commissary money, and saving for when they get out. But this cat was so financially secured that he could drop $500,000 or more on cars he couldn't even drive just to prove a point. Real estate moves, buying mom a mansion.
Oh my God.
She love cooking.
One of the most heartwarming parts of Pooh Shiesty's wealth story is what he did for his family. As soon as the money started flowing heavy, one of his first major purchases was buying his mother a brand new mansion. We don't have the exact details on the price or location, but from the footage that's been shared, we're talking about a massive house that probably cost several $100,000, if not more. This move shows you that despite all the street stuff and the wild spending, Pooh Shiesty never forgot where he came from. Taking care of your family is always the first priority when you make it out the hood, and Pooh Shiesty did it in a big way. The pet game, expensive pit bull pups. Even Pooh Shiesty's pets were expensive, fam. This cat picked up some ferocious pit bull puppies, and if you know anything about high-quality breeding, these dogs don't come cheap. Good breeders sell these types of dogs for anywhere between $2,000 to $20,000 per pup, depending on the bloodline and training. Pooh Shiesty didn't just get one, he got multiple dogs, so we're potentially looking at $40,000 or more just on pets. And that's not even counting the ongoing costs of feeding, training, and caring for these animals, but when you're making millions, dropping tens of thousands on dogs is just another Tuesday. Merchandise empire building multiple revenue streams. What made Pooh Shiesty's wealth even more impressive was that he wasn't just relying on music. Through his partnership with 1017 Records, he had a whole merchandise empire going. Fans could buy everything from Shiesty season hoodies for $45 to face masks for $15. This might not sound like much, but when you're moving thousands of units, those numbers add up quick. Merchandise has some of the highest profit margins in the music business, so every hoodie sold was putting serious money directly in Pooh Shiesty's pocket. Streaming millions, the real moneymaker. Let's break down where the real money was coming from, gang. Pooh Shiesty's debut project, Shiesty Season, debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200, moving 62,000 album equivalent units in its first week. That's impressive for any artist, but especially for someone who was relatively new to the game. His biggest hits were generating massive streaming numbers. Back in Blood with Lil Durk, over 100 million views on YouTube alone. Monday to Sunday with Lil Baby and Big 30, over 50 million YouTube views. Multiple tracks with millions of Spotify streams. When you add up all these streaming numbers across all platforms, we're talking about hundreds of millions of streams. Even at the low rate of $3,500 per million streams, Pooh Shiesty was pulling in serious money just from people playing his music. The legal fees, expensive lawyers. Of course, with great wealth comes great responsibility, and unfortunately for Pooh Shiesty, a lot of that responsibility came in the form of legal fees. When he caught his federal case, he hired Bradford Cohen, one of the best criminal defense attorneys in the game. This is the same lawyer who represented Kodak Black and YNW Melly. Lawyers of this caliber don't come cheap, fam. We're talking about legal fees that could easily run into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but the fact that Pooh Shiesty could afford this level of representation shows you just how much money he was sitting on. The prison flex, staying rich behind bars. Even while locked up, Pooh Shiesty was still making money moves. He recorded Federal Contraband and Federal Contraband 2 on the jail phone, showing that his hustle never stopped. These tracks kept his name in the streets and his streaming numbers up while he was away. The fact that he could buy those Ferraris while incarcerated also shows that his money was properly invested and managed. A lot of rappers go broke when they can't actively work, but Pooh Shiesty's wealth was structured in a way that kept generating income even when he was locked up. The early release? Back to the money. When Pooh Shiesty got released early in October 2025 after serving only 3 years of his 5-year sentence, the first thing he did was hit the jeweler and drop $100,000 on a new chain. This move showed the world that his time in prison hadn't hurt his pockets at all. His homie Big 30 was there to celebrate his release with a huge bankroll, showing that the Choppa Gang money was still flowing. Even after 3 years away from the game, Pooh Shiesty's wealth was intact and ready for the next chapter. Net worth breakdown, the real numbers. So what's Pooh Shiesty really worth, fam? While exact numbers are hard to pin down, let's break down what we know. Record deal with 1017, estimated at least $1 million. Streaming revenue, hundreds of thousands from major hits. Merchandise sales, tens of thousands in profit. Real estate, several hundred thousand in property. Vehicles, at least $500,000 in cars. Lamborghini, McLaren rentals, Ferraris. Jewelry, over $100,000 in chains, watches, and grills. Legal fees, hundreds of thousands in attorney costs. Conservative estimates put Pooh Shiesty's net worth somewhere between $2 to $5 million. But given his spending habits and the fact that he could drop hundreds of thousands on cars while in prison, the real number could be much higher. What made Pooh Shiesty's wealth story so impressive wasn't just the amount of money he made, but how quickly he adapted to living rich. This cat went from the projects to buying Ferraris in prison in just a couple of years. He was living like he'd been wealthy his whole life, dropping 6 figures on jewelry, buying his mom a mansion, and flexing with exotic cars. The fact that he could maintain this lifestyle even while incarcerated shows that his wealth wasn't just flash-in-the-pan success. This was real, sustainable money that was properly managed and invested. Pooh Shiesty's story teaches us several things about wealth and success. Diversify your income. He wasn't just relying on music, he had merchandise, streaming, and smart investments. Take care of family first. His first major purchase was his mom's house. Invest in yourself. Even his expensive jewelry and cars were part of building his brand. Plan for setbacks. His wealth structure allowed him to maintain his lifestyle even while locked up. Stay humble, but flex when necessary. Buying those Ferraris from prison was the ultimate power move. Now that Pooh Shiesty is back on the streets, the question is, what's next? He's already shown that his wealth is intact, dropping $100,000 on jewelry on his first day out. With the music industry having evolved during his time away, and with his fan base still loyal, he's positioned to potentially make even more money than before. The fact that he's now operating under his own Choppa Gang label instead of 1017 Records suggests he's taking more control of his business and keeping more of the profits. This could mean even bigger paydays in the future. Pooh Shiesty's story is one of the wildest rags to riches tales in recent hip-hop history. From the Cane Creek projects to buying Ferraris from prison, this young cat showed the world what it means to go from broke to rich practically overnight. His wealth wasn't just about the money, it was about the power, the respect, and the ability to take care of his family and his crew. Even when faced with federal charges and prison time, Pooh Shiesty's financial foundation was strong enough to not only survive, but to allow him to make power moves from behind bars. The fact that he could drop hundreds of thousands on cars he couldn't even drive just to prove a point shows you the level of wealth we're talking about. This wasn't just rap money. This was generational wealth that was built smart and built to last. As Pooh Shiesty continues his journey back into the music game, one thing is clear. His time in prison didn't break his spirit or his bank account. If anything, it showed the world that his success was real, his money was long, and his story is far from over. That's the multi-million-dollar life of Pooh Shiesty, fam. A story of street dreams, overnight success, and the kind of wealth that lets you buy Ferraris from prison just because you're bored. Make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think about this wild story. Until next time, keep grinding and remember, sometimes all it takes is one phone call to change your whole life.